What a fun way to start 2020.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And welcome to this super extra special start of the year wrap-up review of 2019 and the past 10 years. We've got something going on here.
I always find it funny, just media in general, how quickly the internet shifts from the holiday season to the New Year's, like next year resolution, meme, past 10-year type things.
Yeah.
Because I've been out of my place for the last 10 days, traveling for the holidays, seeing family, and I'm catching up with memes the best I can. And it seems like all the holiday memes are gone, and we're on to the New Year's memes. The 2019 memes are long gone because once you hit January 1st, 2019 is old news. So now I'm seeing all like 2020 hindsight jokes. I saw somebody on Twitter that they said that they laid claim to the joke of when 2020 rolls around and I wear the 2020 glasses, only I'm allowed to make the joke that I have 2020 vision, and he retweeted a tweet he had from 2015. So some people were really serious about this year and the jokes that might come with the two succinct numbers right after each other.
That's funny because I spent my last day of 2019 at the eye doctor, Mike. So I mean, I was trying to go for the literal sense, and you know, didn't nearly pan out as well as this joke. So
yeah, we'll do our best not to dive into the U.S. healthcare system, but that actually is like a strategic thing that Americans have to do of get in before the year ends, because once the new year rolls around, you got like new deductibles and all that nonsense. So the wife and I did some similar things. I had some brief patch up dental work before the end of the year, so we got our adult things out of the way. So not only do we have the new year to look forward to, which seems to be a very positive year overall, like people have positive vibes, and I honestly think it's just as simple as humans like two round numbers next to each other.
I do. I love it. I go squared even.
Yeah, I mean, like 2018 was an even number, but I didn't really see people like, oh yeah, no, this is going to be the year. But people love the start of the new decade. They love these two numbers that fit on your face well for parties. So everyone's in a very positive mood, which I really like. I feel like I'm really vibing from what I'm seeing on the internet, except for the people that are doing that, like the decade challenge type deal, because like most memes or trends that have you reflect on the past, it's usually people just bragging. So it's just like, oh, well, in 2009, I lived in a ditch and I ate mud, and now it's 2020 and I live in a penthouse and I eat money for lunch. So it's just like, I try to avoid those. A little too humble braggy for me.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of those. I also don't do the photos of like my top 9 of the year. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care enough to do that. I'm glad people do enjoy it and you can have your little things and have fun with that. But I'm like, I don't want to go back.
Well, man, there's even an extra flex to the top 9 thing, because I've noticed that there must be a setting to those top 9 generators where you can put how many likes each one has had. So if you have enough followers out there, you'll flex and you'll show like, oh, well, this is my top 9. But unlike your pedestrian top 9, I've had 10,000 plus likes on my top 9. So it's that's all social media is, a flex.
Oh man. Well, I just want to say, Mike, I had a lot of people reach out to us after our last episode we recorded and asked, are we still friends? And I just want to say, yes, we're still friends.
Oh my God, Star Wars seems like a million years away by
now. It was last decade. At least last decade.
That's true.
But yes, me and Mike, we are still friends. At least, I think so. He may say differently, but enough to get back on the show. And 5 years ago, can you imagine half of that 10 years we're about to look back on? We recorded our first episode, I think, on the first of the year because we both had it off that day. So we've been doing this show for 5 years, literally, I think right now. So it's really weird to think of that we did half the decade of the show.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we recorded like an unreleased pilot just to test to see if we could talk on microphones, and I don't believe we ever published it. And then I think the very first episode was published somewhere around January, maybe the third week or something like that.
I think it was like the first Sunday or the first Monday of January, but the first was that Tuesday before, so we had like a whole week of weird, floating around. But
well, look at this! Happy anniversary to us! Brand new year. Everything's looking up for 2020.
It is coming up Millhouse right now. I'll tell you what.
Just had to get that Star Wars movie out of the way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're here. We're great. I mean, even recently, as early as this past weekend, I think we were within 20 minutes of each other at one point. We didn't get to see each other, but we were there. So everything's brought us back around. But we're recording, so we want to look back at this year. And I tell you what, I forgot half these movies were this year already, Mike.
Yeah, nothing makes you realize how long a year actually is once you look back at the movies that came out in January and February. It seems no, that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was like, Alita Battle Angel. That was this year? I was
Remember
man.
that guy?
I mean...
I feel like I always when it's been a while since I've talked about a movie, I always try to remember what was my main review of the movie, what was my overall sentiments for it. And I feel like this far removed from it, I just kind of have vague feelings for how I felt about Alita Battle Angel, and I feel like what I'm left with was there was some fun stuff in there, but obviously nothing to latch onto. But I believe I walked out of the theater going, oh, I think I'd see a sequel, but I'm not gonna protest or raise banners if it never comes out.
Well, it felt like the actors were good. The CGI person didn't bother me the whole time, but the ending really just felt hollow. There was no stakes really. I think at one point her little boyfriend was like, I'm gonna go fight this dude. He runs up a chain and this falls off into the mist, and you never see him again.
That's right.
And I'm like, and then out of nowhere, there's this weird Edward Norton cameo. He's a guy living in the city above the tower. And I'm like,
which Edward Norton, he's we know who he is, and you can kind of recognize him by his face. If you've seen some maybe Wes Anderson films, or if you can remember the very first Hulk movie, but he doesn't really have, I would say, the street cred of just a face cameo.
Yeah. Well, he could maybe, I guess. I mean, the same as if Christoph Waltz is the main actor in this movie as well. What do we know him for? Was the Tarantino film?
The Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
I feel like you need a level of a Johnny Depp face cameo, because when he cameoed in the first 21 Jump Street movie, it was very effective because Johnny Depp's face right away.
Like Brad Pitt in Deadpool 2. When he was the invisible guy, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, that I don't remember that. Captain Marvel, yet again, feels like it was forever ago. I've revisited this movie, I think, within the past month or so. I don't know if you have her yet, since you're on the Disney Plus scene, but it's funny because I didn't notice it watching it the first couple times in theaters, but Nick Fury, played by Samuel Jackson, he looks young, but he moves like an old man. They can definitely de-age someone to perfection, but they can't make him move like he's
It's
in the 30s and 40s.
It's funny that you bring that up. The way humans move are more memorable than you think they're going to be. And I have just a brief anecdote of I was in the airport heading home, and I saw somebody that looked familiar that I went to high school with. I believe we were one grade removed. It wasn't a person that I particularly hang out with, but it was a friends of friends situation. So I was aware of this person, but, didn't really hang out too much. But at some point in time, I must have seen this human being walk upright with his 2 feet in some given way, because I saw this person at the airport, and when I wasn't sure it was him, he made a trip back to the bathroom while I was waiting for my plane, and I just saw the way he moved and walked, and I was like, no, that's gotta be him, because that's how I remember him walking. And I was like, why do I remember the way this almost stranger walks? So yeah, I'm not surprised that you noticed the lumbering Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, and one of the standout characters that again, Talos, the shapeshifting Skrull, which I hope played by Ben Mendelsohn, which I hope pops up more.
We got to see him again later in the year with Spider-Man. And I totally forgot, was the sword cameo, was that in Spider-Man or Captain Marvel?
That was Spider-Man.
Oh man, yeah. Things get once you start talking post credits for movies, it's really hard for me to attach them to the original movie I saw them in. But yeah, I would say my takeaway from Captain Marvel was all right, let's see what she does next. And Endgame, I don't think really counts because there's so much missing there. Her appearance in Endgame, like many other characters in Endgame, almost just feels like a plussed up cameo, if you will. They removed her from the fight when it would have been too easy to solve the problems, and they brought her back just in time to punch Thanos around.
And she didn't have any highlights in Infinity War, so I mean, she's one of these weird characters who just kind of lived in the middle of the movies for a little bit, and I think she's going to get going forward the Wonder Woman treatment, where we see her history before we actually see her present.
That would be I would be curious to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, what did she do in that meantime she was in space before she came back? So there's that. Shazam was also this year. The DC movie.
Yeah, I remember we were a little split on that one. I was more positive. You were a little bit more like, meh.
Yeah, I'm a little meh. I've not, I've not revisited it, I think, since then. So I don't know. I don't like the gray monsters. I will tell you that. I remember the gray, like the greed and envy and whatever, the seven deadly sins monsters, and they looked really not defined. So I don't remember that. But I like Mark Strong as the villain, and Zachary Levi as the full Shazam was fun. He's a fun guy. He has a great time.
It's funny. Even though I never watched Chuck, I feel like I am a big Zachary Levi fan now. Because the only other thing I've really seen him in besides Shazam was he was in the last 2 seasons of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. He had a much bigger role in the 2nd season, popped back up in the 3rd season, and I just really like the guy. He's just really infectious to watch on screen. So I am very much down for more Shazam. However I can get it. Maybe he'll be in the end credits for Black Adam, but we don't have to wait too much longer after Black Adam to see Shazam and Shazam 2 again. So, still positive vibes from Shazam.
Yeah, nothing. What's my phrase, Mike? It doesn't offend me. Didn't offend me at the end of the day.
Doesn't offend Chris.
However, this next movie offended Mike. Hellboy. I can't say I've revisited this one either. I will never forget Ian McShane's very detailed head on that gooey amorphous ghost body coming
out. I forgot about that.
That looks horrible. But we have seen David Harbour, Stranger Things this year. He was such a good Hellboy. I liked his version of Hellboy. I know it's not the Ron Perlman version, but it aligns more with the comic books I've read. So I very much liked him, and I'm glad we get to revisit David Harbour in comic books this year with Black Widow coming up. But I think at the end of the day, no one's going to be talking about the merits of Hellboy.
Yeah, I think there was 2 standout memories from that film to me. One of them was there was maybe at the end of the 2nd act where there's a collision of them at a tree on a hill. Does that sound right, or was that at the end of the movie?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I think it's at the end of the 2nd act, kind of start of the 3rd, where they're at the top of that hill looking over the town or whatever.
Yeah, and they bring back the Blood Queen or whatever she was. Yeah. They bring back her sisters or something, and then somebody stabs somebody, and I was just like, this is oh wow, this is a movie. But actually one standout thing is I follow the Stan Winston School on Instagram, and they're the old school special effects creature shop that's been around for a really, really long time.
They designed Iron Man's initial armor in Iron Man 1, so we can thank them for that.
Yeah, good to know. But they kind of did their top 9 practical effects of, I think, 2019, and they actually put Hellboy on there. So by all accounts, the Hellboy himself, the character removed for the movie, was very, very good, and I would agree with that. So it's actually a shame that it fell the way it did. Probably won't see Hellboy for a long time now, or maybe just a couple years, and then he'll probably be like an HBO Max show or something.
Put him on a series. Put him on a series. I mean, it works for other people. Let's try that out for. Yeah.
He's just like the perfect creature of the week type of guy. Just let him go fight one every week.
Exactly, and I know. Again, in 19, one of my favorite shows actually was The Witcher, and I know you've not watched it, so I'm not gonna say anything. But the serialized storytelling of that. He's a monster hunter, would work great with Hellboy, so 100% agree with that.
But stay tuned, stay subscribed. I'm going to binge as much as The Witcher as possible, and I think we're going to talk at least initial thoughts when we record our normal news episode, which will be just in a couple days.
Yep. Next big movie, huge success of the year, of the decade, Mike. Yes. I think Avengers Endgame was able to do so much, and honestly, I mean, yes, we could probably nitpick some things, but at the end of the day, there's nothing in Endgame I'm like, well, that didn't work, or anything like that. And I really, truly enjoy Endgame for what it is and what it did for us. And literally, I was thinking about only 2 Marvel movies did not happen within 2010 to 2019. Iron Man 1 and the Incredible Hulk. Everything else was within that 10 years. So
yeah, very much defined, I would say, cinema for that decade.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be talking about like 2010 highlights here in a little bit. So I'll just say when it came to Avengers Endgame, I think a lot of people really gravitate towards the Iron Man snap. Like that's their moment of the film. Very much deserved. But I think my personal favorite moment is when Cap finally picked up the hammer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's something that I was just begging for like the last 12 years. Like he's going to pick that hammer up at some point in time. And when it happened, I mean, it was the emotions overwhelming me. I was inconsolable.
That last battle, all the fan service they were able to do in there without making it feel heavy-handed, that's just superb.
And you know what's great? I haven't rewatched it yet because I was waiting for Infinity War to drop on Disney Plus, which I believe just happened, right?
Yes, the 26th.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
So now I can watch them back to back, streaming in the comfort of my own home, and I can't wait to do back to back with those.
I also want to point out a fun fact about Endgame. The Iron Man and Hulk were the first 2 movies that came out the same year, 2008, for MCU. They were the only 2 heroes to snap the gauntlet in Endgame.
Oh, hey. I bet that's just a coincidence.
I bet it is as well, but it's a fun little fact. Next up, the last Fox X-Men movie that we will probably remember or talk about was the forgettable, the biggest offense it has, Dark Phoenix.
Ouch.
I don't remember. There was a party in the woods at some point, I think, and that's about as far as I go.
And I think after the film, we were like, how old were these people? Like, it's supposed to be like the 80s now. They're not supposed to be teenagers anymore. And honestly, my only takeaway from Dark Phoenix was just despair. I don't think I got any enjoyment out of that movie. You could probably counter my thoughts by going back and listening to the spoiler review. There might be something I liked out of it, but this far removed, I'm probably never going to revisit that movie again.
Well, I think that the train scene when Nightcrawler went off the rails and was attacking people was kind of cool, but I don't remember anything else. When you talk about going out with a whimper, this is the franchise right here for you. But then we picked up with the Spider-Man sequel, Far From Home, where they got to go to Europe, introduce us to Mysterio, kind of traverse the world a little bit. We've been in America for a lot of these movies, so this was the first time we kind of got to go out a little bit and see some other sites. And I don't think people are upset about the Mysterio reveal. I just wish we had more Mysterio. I really liked him as a character. Jake Gyllenhaal really sold it as like he is just a conniving actor who wants to be like, look at me kind of thing, and I really enjoyed that character, and I hope he's not gone for good.
Yeah, great twist. A unique movie moment that I've never experienced before, where I was actually not enjoying the movie because I thought the relationship between Mysterio and Peter Parker was just very odd. It just felt very forced, and I was like, why are they best friends all of a sudden? This doesn't make any sense. And then when the twist happened, I was like, this is great. Like, this was literally the only thing that they could have done to save the movie for me, and it absolutely worked. So I will always remember that moment when I think of Spider-Man. And then also, I guess the ending credit scene with Sword coming into play, which I've always really dug the space stations.
Yeah, and Nick Fury literally being in space for who knows how long at this point. So yeah, Spider-Man, the last MCU movie of the decade, I guess, the end of Phase 3, at the end of it there, and it had the time jump. It was bold enough to do the 5-year time jump, Mike, without really throwing us for a loop. Months later, we got the Curious Joker movie. Curious is the best word I could use here.
I mean, I haven't seen Cats yet, so I don't have any sort of marker there. But would you say Joker may have been the biggest surprise of the year? I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be that good.
Man, that's a tough call. It is good, but is it what is it as good as people make it out to be to me?
I guess I should rephrase. Not surprised, because Cats is I hear nothing but a bad news.
That's a shock.
Biggest shock. Yeah, Cat, like the Joker. I was shocked that it was good.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't really shocked that it was good. I think, for that. I don't know. I'm indifferent on the Joker at the end of the day. Like, I think it's okay. I think it's a fine taste of cinema. But I will always want an actual comic book Joker and not Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, I guess, is but get my takeaway. We talked about that on our review. So just last week, 2 weeks ago, I feel we had yet again another divisive Star Wars film.
I would say, do you think this is more divisive than The Last Jedi? Or do you think it feels close, but I feel like one of them's got to be more than the other. Maybe we need another year to figure it out.
I think it's the other one. I mean, I think it's The Last Jedi, because people are still talking about that movie even after this one. Everyone's like, "Well, why is Rose in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi?" I'm like, why does it matter? We're 2 years in another movie beyond that. We don't have to talk about it. I think The Last Jedi really rubbed people the wrong way, man.
It's funny. It sounds like we both have the same opinions about Rose, but for a totally different reason. Whereas, like, you're just like, well, yeah, Rose wasn't really in the movie that much because it's been 2 years, and I'm at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't care either because I didn't like the movie, so more Rose wouldn't have made the movie better for me. So
right.
We can both come together with our Venn diagram about Rose.
But like, it's like people are still I guess, I mean, not necessarily my take, but people were still talking about that like 2 days ago about The Last Jedi. I'm like, why are you still talking The Last Jedi? That's we're moved past. So I think it's divisive. But again, we have the third another Star Wars trilogy wrapped up yet again. So the third time a trilogy is wrapped up in Star Wars. So
yes, please go listen to the relatively fresh argument Chris and I had about this movie. No need to rehash it right here, but stay subscribed. I'm sure whenever we get more Star Wars news going forward, we will yell at each other just a little bit more.
We will bring our opinions back to the forefront. And I also forgot we did this review. I didn't put it in our notes until later. Pokemon Detective Pikachu was out this year.
Yeah, I still have good vibes off of this movie. There's fun stuff happening there. I don't know how you get Ryan Reynolds back into Pikachu for a sequel, but I very much want another one. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, I watched Six Underground on the flight back home for the holidays, and that is a rough movie. There's a lot of action in it, that's for sure. Maybe don't watch it on an iPad on a plane like I did. If you have like a big dumb TV, like an 80-inch OLED, that could be really fun to watch it on there, because I felt like the first action scene went on for like an hour.
Was that the car chase?
Yeah, I was like, this is going on forever. Like 30 cars have flipped already. There's been like 1 million bullets fired, and we haven't even seen the opening title sequence yet.
I heard a lot of people liked it just for that sequence, like in terms of filmmaking, but like beyond that, it was not that good. So
story's a big old stinker. So Ryan Reynolds, it's still his year. He's still just been doing nothing but awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's like hiring the Peloton lady to be in his gin commercial. Like literally the week after the Peloton commercial was out. That was such a quick turnaround. But yeah, so those were the reviews we did this year. Now some other movies we watched we might have talked about in separately. John Wick 3 came out this year.
Oh yes, 2 thumbs up.
I've watched that a couple more times, and mostly in passing, but I have seen that. Toy Story 4 came out this year. Sorry.
Toy Story 4 is a juggernaut of a franchise, because I got to see a lot of younger nieces and nephews over the holiday they're very much little tykes, and they absolutely love Toy Story. So they know all the characters, they know Jesse, Woody, all of them. So it's just crazy how I watched the first Toy Story when I was relatively young, and then now young kids still like it just as much. So, man, talk about a franchise that spans.
And it was this movie where I think we both said, like, there's no, like, what can you do with this movie? There's nothing left here in these toys. And then all of a sudden they made a movie that made sense out of it, like, weirdly enough. And I think Toy Story 4 has longevity in terms of short series and not films, because what is on Disney Plus, Forky asked a question. I think in 2020 there's a Bo Peep series with like the lamp, like the lambs are coming out. So I think they're gonna go into that kind of little Toy Story shorts kind of thing.
Did they make that joke in Toy Story 4 about how she was out on the lam? But
Probably.
no, that would be no, because doesn't that mean when you're running from the cops?
Yeah, but she was running from like the toy store doll, the creepy doll.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Basically, the joke is there. You just got to make it Disney.
Yeah, they'll find it. They'll figure it out. Did you end up watching The Lighthouse or not? I couldn't remember.
No, I didn't. But I was just trying to think of other movies I watched this year that maybe I didn't see or you didn't see, and I was like, okay, well, Chris went and saw the auteur film of The Lighthouse, while I went and saw Hobbs and Shaw. So I think maybe Chris is making the better decisions here.
I've not seen Hobbs and Shaw yet. Someone asked me the other day, is there any other movie series with 9 films in it? Because they were talking about Star Wars. So I'm like, Fast and Furious was immediately the first one I went to. I'm like, easily, hands down. James Bond has 25, and I count the Marvels as a series because you got to watch them all. But
oh yeah, for sure, I'd count them as a series.
And the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, not just Harry Potter movies, has I think
7, 9, yeah, 9 with the 10th coming out, right?
No,
there's eight. Yeah, there's 8 films because there's 7 books, and 2-parter for the last one.
And then there's 2. There's actually 2, so there's 10. Because it was
yep, 10. You're right.
So yeah. So anyway, that was it. So I saw The Lighthouse. I still don't know how the ending feels, but it is a very well made movie. I will easily give it that. This was the film here, Mike, that made me realize that it came out this year and I forgot all about it. Lego Movie 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we talked about it in our last news episode since it's been a little bit, but I think maybe the news broke afterwards. But Warner Brothers and Lego, they've severed their feature ties. I don't know if maybe they'll continue to do streaming TV shows with Lego properties, because I feel like those kind of always exist. But yeah, there's no more movies planned. Yeah. They're all done. They've wrapped.
Yeah. I mean, I heard Lego Movie was great. Lego Batman was funny. The one we didn't see, Ninjago, I heard was great, but everything beyond that was just crap.
I mean, obviously, this wasn't because of the Playmobil is a different thing, but I mean, that was one of the worst bombs ever, and maybe Lego was just like, yeah, maybe this is a good time to go out, just because I mean, obviously they can make a better movie than Playmobil.
What the hell was with the time traveling Legos in this movie? You remember?
It just got too meta. It got way too meta, which I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller love doing that kind of stuff, but with this property, it just got too weird. I was like, okay, are these Legos actually real? What's happening here? In the first movie, it was kind of like they were personified as being real, and this was just kind of, you imagine I guess the movie kind of actually happened as if humans might have been playing with the Legos, because I think that's what they alluded to. But in this second one, they went like full Toy Story of sentience, but it was like almost like a Toy Story origin story.
But there was a Lego sent back through time because he went under the dryer or something.
Oh yeah,
shit like that?
Yeah, that's extra weird. That's like adding time travel to a Toy Story movie, which is like, that's too much.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot that even came out this year. Thumbs down from us. That's for sure.
I mean, I don't remember it being awful, but I definitely wasn't clamoring for more of that.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I would also say the same thing for Brightburn. I think this is going to maybe divide some people here. The James Gunn produced what if Superman as a kid was evil kind of thing. Saw it coming a mile away. Like this movie was not very surprising to me. The kid actor who played the crazy Superman wasn't very convincing. It was just dumb. I really don't care for Brightburn.
I guess it's good. I didn't see it. Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah. Godzilla King of Monsters was this year. I will tell you, there's nothing better than seeing Godzilla fight King Ghidorah. That scene is awesome. Both times he fights him. You watched it, right?
No, I still haven't seen any of these Godzilla movies, and I keep meaning to get around to it. I feel like for a brief amount of time they stream somewhere, but then I miss it because the next movie in the franchise comes out and they take it off streaming. But I feel like at this point in time, I'm just not going to watch him, and I'm just going to wait until he fights King Kong, and I'll just go watch that movie because I don't think I'm going to need the prereqs. But I remember the trailer for King of Monsters having some cool, sounds like they came up with some cool lore for the reason these monsters are around. So yeah, I feel like this could be like maybe a fun Sunday afternoon movie if it's streaming somewhere.
If you've got one and then immediately followed by this one, it's going to be much better, I think, rather than waiting a couple years. My brother bought a projector and he had it on 300 inch, and that's what we watched to break it in the 4K HDR was the Godzilla versus Ghidorah fight
nice.
because it was
That's nice.
It was good. It was very good. Men in Black International. When a franchise tries to come back to life and fails horribly, even though it's got great actors, it's got Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. They got that chemistry in Thor Ragnarok. Did not carry it over to this movie at all. So
nope. It's is that maybe a signal towards the death of the movie star? Is just because you got well-known people in your film doesn't mean it's going to be successful. I mean, because even you could make bad movies with big actors, but usually at least they make money. But I don't remember Men in Black International like cranking out the dough.
Yeah, it did not. I've got Box Office Mojo pull up here with the top movies of the year, and that was 29th overall this year.
I mean, this should have been a big franchise. But
yeah,
nope.
you thought you could. And lastly, I saw this for free, and I want my money back. Stuber.
What a bummer. I love Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the Eternals. He's jacked now. Did we talk about that on the show, about how he's like super buff? And I couldn't even, at first when I saw the picture he tweeted that he was buff, I thought it was photoshopped.
It came out the week we didn't do a news episode, so we haven't talked about it yet. But I mean, they've got him unbelievably fit for Eternals.
Oh, yeah, he is buff. I don't know exactly if his character has a reason to take his shirt off, but seems like he's going to get his thirsty shirtless moment in that film at some point in time. But, I'm a big fan of Kumail, but, had Dave Bautista in it, too. Yeah, they seem to have maybe good off-screen chemistry, but not in this movie.
The actors were fine. The writing was bad. There was like the jerk at the outdoor world place he worked at, and he's like, now we're best friends because he came into the store and he was just like a mean guy. I don't know what happened. Like, it's all for free, and I feel ripped off. So. But.
I'll give a recommendation because I feel like maybe Stuber will be one of those movies people will forget about, and then maybe they'll see it. If Bargain Bin still exists in the future, maybe they'll see it and try to watch it and be like, oh, maybe this is a gem. Stuber's not a hidden gem. What a real hidden gem is Mouse Hunt. I don't know, Chris, if you've seen Mouse Hunt, but...
I've seen Mouse Hunt.
It's just a treasured film. I love it. It's great.
We have someone discovered a mouse in our work office recently. So the next day, Black Diamond was in there, and these traps everywhere, and I'm immediately thinking Mouse Hunt myself.
It's just great. It's full of a bunch of like slapstick physical humor. Nathan Lane's in it. He's great. I totally forgot Christopher Walken shows up as an exterminator. It's a 1997 film, so the special effects they do a good job because the only thing they really ever have to computer generate is the mouse every once in a while. But I shared a scene that I thought was just like perfect on Twitter. I tried my best to bootleg it, but since the movie's so old, it's like a 4:3 ratio. So just go watch the movie. I think it's streaming on Amazon and Hulu. Hopefully they still are, because it's the first of the year. Some things are leaving, some things are going different places. But go watch Mouse Hunt instead of Stuber.
Yeah, all you people who wanted to watch Friends, gone now. Can't get on Netflix.
for 5 months you got to wait for HBO Max. Everybody.
Yeah. So, that's a look back on this year alone. I think I want to take a quick stroll through the past 10 years. If you got a second, Mike. I mean, the past 10 years, the Avengers series, I think, is the number one standout to me.
When I knew we were doing this episode, I started thinking during my travels over the last 10 days of what are some moments that I would pull out. And the first Avengers movie, for sure. I went to go see that in theaters. Just the feeling I walked out of that movie with was just like, yes, it absolutely worked. This is great. I can't wait to see what happens after this. I didn't know who or what Thanos was when I saw the end credit scene, so I had to go do a bunch of research. I bought the Infinity Gauntlet big collection like right after that movie. I'm sure like a lot of people did, read right through that. But yeah, that whole feeling was just, that movie was just great. Those moments, that movie was just full of amazing moments that I feel like I can still, if I concentrate, I can picture the seat I was in that movie theater, who was sitting around me, just a little banter I had with people when I left the movie theater, just talking to random strangers about it. But man, that first Avengers movie was solid.
That's an event. I got to see that movie 2 weeks early in Chicago, and I remember waiting in line for hours because if you didn't get there, like they overbooked it, so it'd be full. You can't take your cell phone in. You have to leave your cell phone outside. And they wave you down with wands to find them. And then when Coulson gets killed, this group of girls beside me was bawling their eyes out. I will never forget that. Definitely a film that kicked off, that hey, crossover films can work. And, we had 4 total Avengers movies in just, 7 years total. So that's just fantastic. I think that's a huge highlight. In terms of other superhero movies, I think Captain America, The Winter Soldier changed the way Marvel movies were made, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like, right around that film, it was the first time that I was seeing articles and hot takes where people were mentioning, okay, Marvel's going to start making movies in the vein of other genres. So you could argue that maybe some of the movies before that were in other genres, but this one felt very clear. Like, this is a political thriller. The introduction to the Russo brothers in the MCU, who knows, maybe they could have done like punch up on scripts that we don't know about, but this was their first like, hey, guess what, man, we can really do it.
Yeah, and I would say they even were able to follow up with a successful sequel of sorts with Civil War as well. Like we can take more characters, and then that gave them the reins to do Avengers. Civil
War was a great film, but it's the most confusing MCU film for me because it's basically Avengers 2.5. I get confused if it was a Captain America movie or not, and also a very pivotal inflection point for the series because Black Widow's happening right after that film. The Avengers break up, so it's a big bookmark. It's like a big earmark in the story of the MCU, and I always forget, when did it happen? What movie came out before it? What happened after it? So it's a little confusing.
I feel it's the one before that is technically Ant-Man, but I think Age of Ultron takes place chronologically beforehand, and I feel that I remember you're not. Age of Ultron is your least favorite Avengers movie, yes. I think it is. I think it even sits lower on a list in terms of the MCU films. So I think making this Avengers 2.5 makes up for that for you a little bit. And this was the first time we got Spider-Man in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
and Black Panther.
I would say almost the biggest moment out of Civil War was the trailer when we finally got to see Spider-Man, because back then, baby, we didn't know if it would ever happen. We thought Sony was just going to be money grubbing, and just they decided to be money grubbing in the smart way of let Disney do all the work and they can just cash the checks. Yeah, great movie. I want to see the raft come back. It doesn't have to be in a big capacity, but give me like a Disney Plus series where at least the characters go to the raft for at least an episode. I want to see the ins and outs of it.
Well, I want to see real villains in it. Like that's the cameos we want to see. Like, these B-list villains are out there somewhere in this raft.
Yeah. I'm in love with Prison Break movies or TV shows, so give me like a Prison Break sequence to just rival a lot of other ones, and they could pay kind of homage to the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, where maybe they put some of those villains in the raft and we kind of just see them in the background.
It could. I mean, could be a great thing for Hawkeye series possibly. Because he technically. He was in there. I don't know if he go back and work for him, but he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and he was tasked to bring in Black Widow, before he turned her to the good side, so maybe that's that show. He's like, hey, I need a new archer to help me go take down some of these prison breakouts. But I think those are two Captain America movies really, really changed the world's view on Captain America as a whole. Deadpool, again, breaking down walls with the R-rated comedy, the fourth wall breaking character. It shouldn't have worked. It only got made because the pre-visual effects got leaked. Like this movie was a perfect storm to get made and then come out and be as good as it was. And not just the quality of the film, the juggernaut of a rated R movie making that much money. I mean, this movie is still making waves when it comes to studios going, oh, we can make more adult stuff and still make money. We're still waiting for Spawn to come out, but I believe that's going to be rated R. Joker, that was rated R. Isn't something else going to be rated R that's coming out soon? Is Birds of Prey rated R? Am I making that up? Birds of Prey is. Yep.
Yeah. So that's entirely thanks to Deadpool. And I know we give all of the credit to Deadpool, but a year beforehand, Kingsman came out,
Yeah.
and that was also rated R. But it didn't make it was softer waves, still waves that you could technically, I think, boogie board on, but you couldn't quite surf on them.
Kingsman, I think, paved the way for Joker, whereas Deadpool more paved the way for Harley Quinn to be that way, because it's raunchy R-rated, where Kingsman is not the raunchy version of it. So I think Deadpool, I mean, we are now we're going to talk about it on our regular show, but Deadpool 3 is in the works at Disney, Marvel. So we're just moving right along with the Deadpool franchise. I know I don't hold these up to high standards. They're not being made anymore, but I also have to give props to the Netflix series, specifically Daredevil and Jessica Jones, for turning superhero TV into something cool.
Yeah, cool and prestigious.
Well, it didn't. It eventually, to use the phrase, it petered out. And by the end of it, Luke Cage and Iron Fist were rushed. Again, I really liked the first half of Luke Cage. I will say that forever. But once that second half started, that back half sucked. Iron Fist sucked. Defenders didn't live up to the hype. It just kind of tanked. But the first year, the Daredevil and Jessica Jones, we were like, oh my gosh, dark, real superhero television shows can happen.
They started off doing everything right. I remember they had a press conference in New York where they said all of this is going to be filmed in New York. None of this Georgia crap where we shoot it to make it look like New York. They really went for it. They tried to talk about the events of the Battle of New York in a vague way so they could still kind of tie it into the MCU. But yeah, like you said, it just started to gradually fall apart, and who knows who is exactly to blame. But the way it was couldn't exist forever. So I almost wish if we could go back in time after season 1 of all of these shows, that I could tell them, this is the date where you're going to stop making all of these shows. So this is the end game. This is the road for you. And then now plan everything going forward. And I think everything would have been catastrophically better. Catastrophically is the wrong word. That's the word that you use to describe the first season of Iron Fist. But even season 2 of Luke Cage is somewhat forgettable. The only thing I remember is Bushmaster talking like a Jamaican, and then at the very end of Luke Cage season 2, spoilers, he's like the bad guy. So it could have been interesting to see what happened in the third season, but yeah, didn't finish the last season of Daredevil. I heard it was good. I think I only watched the first episode of the last season of Jessica Jones, but it's just hard to invest yourself in something that is done.
Yeah, and the way, again, Netflix was at that time, 13 episodes. You had, 3 fillers, at least? 4 filler episodes? So what do you do with that? And it just kind of, I'll give The Punisher some credit. It actually kind of revitalized me with that first season of The Punisher. I really liked that, but
yeah.
Not much else. Not much else there anymore. And those are wrapped up in any other, Marvel television program as well. We talked about Kingsman, bringing the R-rated comic book property. Also, kind of bringing in the unknown comic book property to the forefront. I mean, I think this has also led the way to the Umbrella Academy, Lock and Key, these other kind of series. I know they're not movies, but
I didn't even think about that angle of, the proven success of Kingsman probably did launch a lot of more independent stuff. I'm sure those things were already being looked at because Hollywood was just trying to mine everything comic book this decade since the MCU is doing so well, but I bet Kingsman helped push a lot of things further.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking of The Boys, because The Boys and Umbrella Academy, they would be R-rated if they were movies. So they make them real. They don't make them goofy, stuff like that. And maybe even Preacher. I don't know what the production schedule was that with Kingsman, but I definitely will gotta give Kingsman a shout out there. In that regard, also we talk. I always forget this is R-rated. Logan.
Wow, that was. Oh, I was gonna say that was 2019. No, just in the last 10 years.
Logan. So a Wolverine franchise that started off on a all-time low with Origins, right? I mean, so bad they still make fun of it, even in the Deadpool movies.
Have you ever gone back and watched what was it called? Just Wolverine?
The Wolverine?
The one where he goes to Japan?
I think it's better than Logan. And people are going to light me up for that one, but I think it's better than Logan.
I mean, that actually kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch it, because I remember after I saw it, I was like, yeah, there was some cool stuff that happened in this movie. I know people were really upset about the samurai guy because he wasn't faithful to the comic books, but I was like, still kind of a cool samurai robot thing. That was cool, but I'd never revisited it after that. So
the bullet train sequence is awesome, so much that I feel like they copied it in Captain Marvel earlier this year with the train sequences where they were fighting. So I would recommend going back and watching the Wolverine if you get a chance.
That might be a really good back-to-back feature then.
Yeah. So I think Logan also was a very good end cap to a character that's like, hey, look, we're actually going to kill a character and end a story. Because they really, I mean, I guess they did it with Iron Man now, but like this was the first time they kind of did that with a main actor that was pulling the franchise with him, kicking and screaming.
And before we leave Wolverine, his podcast, The Long Night and the I think it's called The Lost Trail. I was surprised to see that Marvel fiction podcast would take off, but solid, really good stuff. So they got a lot of really good Logan Wolverine stuff this decade.
Yeah, and hopefully a new one in the MCU the next 10 years. Thor Ragnarok, I just watched this. Literally finished it, I think, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. How do you save Thor? The first Thor's good, right? Serviceable, not best, but good. The Dark World is atrocious, by all means. And then how do you bring Thor back? How do you make the Hulk relevant? You put them together, you send them to space, and you give them to Taika Waititi. And Thor Ragnarok made it fun. He made it action. It was this comedy in this. Like, there's jokes left and right in this movie. And I think Thor Ragnarok saved the course of Thor enough so much that he is one of the only main three getting a fourth movie going forward in Phase 4.
Yeah, I mean, Thor 2 was a very predictable kind of, I would say, boilerplate movie. That was oddly the first thing I watched when I got Disney Plus because I just needed something on in the background, and I was like, oh, I would never have bought Thor: The Dark World, so now I can stream it for free. And when I watched it, I was like, this doesn't, like, it doesn't make me mad, kind of like how Age of Ultron makes me mad when I watch it, but there's not really a lot of memorable stuff in there.
The tone is all over the place.
It's I wouldn't exactly say there's a Skybeam involved, but it kind of seems, it has like a Skybeam-esque type of finale, so it just kind of seemed like that was the definition of where the Marvel movies could have gone that way, but luckily they pivoted to do more unique things per film. So it almost seems like a last vestige of kind of like that early Marvel.
That was the last movie made by committee at Marvel Studios before Disney said Kevin Feige can run the whole show. He doesn't have to run it through Marvel Entertainment anymore. So The Dark World was almost the ending of everything good. But Ragnarok, I feel, really brought it back in ways that was surprising all around for everybody.
Yeah, fun. And we brought it up on the news episode, I think, a couple weeks ago, but I totally forgot that Beta Ray Bill was on the outside of the building. So now it reinvigorates hopes that maybe we'll see Billy here in the future.
Yeah, that old horse face cyborg dude. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We've had 3 versions of Spider-Man this decade. Okay, Andrew Garfield, if you remember, had 2 movies. Most people forgot about him. Tom Holland has really revitalized the live-action version, made it a great Spider-Man. But Into the Spider-Verse, Mike, I think would say is your biggest surprise of the past 10 years.
Absolutely. You can find us talk about the first announcement of this movie somewhere on the podcast, because I think we've kind of tracked this through this entire production. Remember, we first brought it up, we were like, what is going on here? And I think the biggest problem was we didn't know what Sony was doing to begin with Spider-Man in general. At that time, we didn't really have Tom Holland yet, so we were just like, Sony, what are you doing? What we actually want is a real Spider-Man playing around with Iron Man and Captain America. That's what we want. We don't want this random animated stuff. And we had only ever seen Marvel animated things as TV shows or like kind of like the one-off movies that you could buy on DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's why we were so concerned. We just didn't know what it was. And then I feel like a year later, we talked about how they did some sort of like secret screening for like shareholders or investors, and they were just like shocked. They were surprised at how unique and different it was. So that's when I kind of started looking up a little bit, and man, once we got that first trailer, once I saw the film, it's amazing. I got the art book as a gift over the holidays, and it's just beautiful.
Well,
everything about the movie is amazing. You can stream it on Netflix. I guess that's been one of the bonuses of it kind of being a Sony property. They don't have their own streaming service yet, so if you have Netflix, you can just kind of go watch it however much you want, just over there on Netflix.
Well, also with that, I mean, even the song "Sunflower" by Post Malone, it was like one of the biggest songs of this year.
Oh yeah,
of
it's so
2019.
catchy.
The music,
What's Up, Danger? I like that song too.
yeah, the music is great. The art style is unique. I've seen the videos where like the frame rate for each character from a different universe is different because they're trying to show how awkward it is versus the smooth swinging of another Spider-Man. Like the thought and love that went into that movie is surprising.
Oh yeah, and that was Phil Lord and Chris Miller as
Yep.
well. No, yes. Sorry, I get their names confused with
Yep.
Winter Soldier guys.
Yeah, Russo brothers, yeah.
There's Russo brothers, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and then there's also the Duffer brothers. Maybe this was the decade for directing creative duos. You know, if you're a creative duo out there, you need to get yourself to Hollywood because they've been pretty successful out there. Even the Wachowskis came back with Sense8, and I heard people really, really dug Sense8. I guess they're making more Matrix stuff. I don't know what's going to happen.
Only one
there.
of them is part of the Matrix going forward.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So.
I got to imagine the other one at least reads the scripts and gives notes just because
they just take the checks.
But yeah, great. Yeah, there's so much craft in that movie, which is why it's so amazing. So I can't wait to see what they do with that franchise. And I wholly trust this animated universe that I hope it expands.
Yeah. And lastly, one of the biggest things in the past 10 years is very recent, very dear, is the advent of Disney Plus as a streaming service and the gift of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, we haven't talked about The Mandalorian since the season ended, but I guess maybe we should we say that for the news episode?
We'll say for the news episode, but like Star Wars, a live action Star Wars television show, bringing the Star Wars fandom together, unlike the movies are doing, and giving us, characters that are essentially internet memes that everyone knows whether they've seen the show or not, and just a fantastic show, production quality, giving me hope for future Disney Plus projects.
Yes, extreme quality put behind this. It wasn't just a throwaway, because honestly, you could have made a throwaway Star Wars TV show because the IP is so strong. You could have probably cut some corners and still made your money. But yeah, like you said, memes everywhere. I didn't know this, but The Mandalorian, at least as of a couple of days ago, wasn't streaming in the UK. So there's just people over there that are just like, what is this stuff? I know what a Baby Yoda is now because I can't ignore it. So I'll use this time to say I'm very lucky and happy that I live in the country where it streams first. That makes it a little bit easier for us. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually talking more in depth about the series. So another shout out to make sure you're subscribed, and we'll be talking about it in a couple days.
Yeah, and the future for more shows, whether they're superhero or anything else along the way, just all in one nice little neat package that you can navigate pretty easily, I feel.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, this is I think the perfect opportunity to weave into our last topic here, which is 2020 predictions. And I think the easiest one to predict or just to talk about is just this is going to be the decade of the streaming wars, if you will. Things were kind of just kicking off this decade, but now, like you said, with Friends, we got HBO Max coming out in I think 5 months. Quibi's coming out. That could be a dark horse. You never know what's going to happen with Quibi. Viacom and CBS just remerged. I think they even published their logo, which is exactly what you expected, as just the two of them kind of smashed together. So I would imagine there could be a streaming service behind that because there's a ton of IP between those two companies. So everything's going to be launching here soon. They're all going to be out there. Everyone's going to have exclusive on-demand content. HBO Max, we're going to have a Green Lantern show there, which is going to be nuts. So this is going to be the decade of the streaming wars. I got to imagine one of these streaming services won't be here in 2030. I don't know what it's going to be. Who knows? Maybe Apple buys Netflix and Apple Plus doesn't really exist anymore, and it just becomes
be the first
Netflix.
one to tank.
Yeah, I think so. It's just it doesn't seem to be generating a lot of buzz.
They're giving it away, and no one's watching it.
I haven't heard a soul a single soul talk about the Jason Momoa C show, which seemed to have been maybe kind of more of the genre that would come in our way, because it was like kind of like a fantasy. It had freaking Aquaman in it, right off the tails of Game of Thrones, and no one's talking about it. So yeah, that makes sense. If one's gonna go, it's probably gonna be that. But Apple at the same time, they could keep it afloat the entire decade, and they probably would barely lose any money because they got all the money in the world. So decade of the streaming wars for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see a lot more choices. I think, again, like I said, I've told people this, we're going to get to the point where you got cable options or satellite options, and people are just going to go back to piracy because it's easier. You're going to be like, it's easier to download this and they go get a service.
Do yourselves a favor. Stop telling me that we should go back to cable, because it's just going to drive me crazy for the next decade. Just remember how awful commercials are. That's all you have to do. I don't care how you get your content. I guess if you want to pirate it, go ahead and just whatever you do, nobody fall back and lay down and let them roll over you with more commercials, because I'm really worried this decade one streaming service is going to have like a free option or a discounted option with commercials. And I feel like Hulu's maybe trying to get away from that, but no more commercials. Get them out of your lives. If you have children, this is what you want. You don't want your children watching commercials all day, every day, because they're just going to ask you for shit because that's what commercials are. So there you go. Streaming wars for 2020.
I think for 2020, this is a light year for superhero movies all around. Just looking at our list here, I don't think anything's going to surprise us, Mike. All around, I don't feel like anything's going to change our worlds, but I do think in the next 10 years we have to go through 3 more Marvel phases at this rate, and we're going to be looking back in 10 years and be like, look at the introduction of the Fantastic Four, look at the introduction of the X-Men. I think we're going to get one of them this year. Someone in 2020 is going to have an X-Men reference or a Fantastic Four reference.
Yeah, this is going to be a very exciting decade because so many new characters. We're getting, let's just start reeling them off. We're getting Moon Knight, which I heard was rumored to possibly be Daniel Radcliffe. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about news related. I'm jumping the gun here.
You're jumping the gun. We've got Miss Marvel, She-Hulk. The WandaVision show that's tying directly, that character is coming into a movie with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What else we got here? Just looking at the Eternals. It's a whole cast of characters coming up. Mm-hmm. I think that's it right now. I'm not seeing a whole lot. Oh, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So
yep, and I'm sure there'll be additional people added to there, because all of these new shows and new characters, they're all going to have like best friends, or they're all going to have iconic enemies that hopefully maybe all of them don't die and we can keep them pushing forward. So, and if you just add one X-Men team or one Fantastic Four team to the next decade, that's at the very least like half a dozen people when it comes to villains and support staff. So many new characters to develop. And then just looking forward just to 2020 itself, I'm very, very curious what happens with New Mutants. Just because, just from the business end of things, I just want to know what they do with it. Are they going to try to bury it? Are they going to try to revive it? What's happening with it?
You wait for the show on Monday or Sunday. Wait for this week. Wait for this weekend. I've got stuff for you. Specifically regarding New Mutants.
Yeah.
The redheaded stepchild of the Fox merger, that it's not doing anything wrong. It's just it exists is its problem.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, if we were just like touching on these 2020 movies real quick, Birds of Prey, nothing in the trailers have gotten me particularly excited, but nothing really has me nervous.
Right.
So I'm trying to be optimistic for it.
Yep. I feel like we haven't seen a lot of trailers. I feel very, very naked on this movie, and it's in a month. So we'll definitely see that. Again, you said New Mutants in April. Black Widow, looking at like another spy movie thriller kind of film, Jason Bourne style, kind of modern Bond. Looks fun.
I think it'll be a good movie. There's no reason for me to worry because Marvel has an amazing track record when it comes to these films. I'm curious maybe if it'll have an emotional ending because this might be the last that we'll see of Natasha Romanoff because it doesn't seem like they're bringing her back to life in any way.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think there's going to have an overall too much impact to the MCU, but it would be kind of cool maybe if they do dig something up that we haven't heard of that moves forward.
Or we look at something differently from before. One of the two. And honestly, this is where I think Marvel's getting into world hopping because none of this movie looks like it's in America, right? Russia, Europe kind of area. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Eternals later being global hopping as well. So the non-New York Marvel movies, I think, are starting this year as well. Wonder Woman 84. Finally, we're back to Wonder Woman. How long has it been? 3 years? 4 years?
Yeah, it's been a bit. I'm hoping Patty Jenkins, an excellent filmmaker. I think she made the Hurt Locker, right? I think that was kind of one of her more claims to fame before she took on Wonder Woman. I like that film. I'm hoping she can overcome the third act superhero problem in Wonder Woman 84. And I think if she does, if everything else in those first two acts are just as good as the first Wonder Woman, she will have excelled. Pedro Pascal showing up in this. I love looking at the promo art for this. I look a lot of superhero promo art because I use it when I make our assets for the show. And the promo art for this movie has been beautiful.
Yeah. It looks just like it's right out of the 80s. There's a shopping mall in it. That was big in the 80s. Everybody loved shopping malls in the 80s. Ghostbusters, a return to Ghostbusters. This will be our second Ghostbusters on the show.
Right now I'm making the shrugging emoji. Like, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah. It's great to not be too attached to the series because I can just go in with my popcorn and soft pretzel bites and just be like, all right, what do you have to show me?
No. Ecto Cooler, Mike. We're getting the Ecto Cooler. Do not forget that.
That's got to come back. There's no way it doesn't come back.
Yeah, I am so excited to order another case or 5 of these. So
I hope maybe they take a little extra angle. So give us the normal Ecto Cooler, but I'd like to try it carbonated. Give it to me carbonated.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to see another color. Maybe like a grape kind of.
So I think we're agreeing. We want some innovation along the lines of the Ecto Cooler.
We love the original. But what can you do for us today?
Yes.
The next two Sony movies, Morbius, I've heard nothing on. Jared Leto has filmed it. It is done. What is going on with this movie? We don't know. This is more nebulous than New Mutants to me because what is this?
Yes.
And then followed by the currently filming Venom 2 in October with what's his name? Andy Serkis.
If Andy Serkis wasn't attached to Venom 2 and it was just any other director, I don't think I would be excited. But I don't know. He kind of puts a little bit of an X factor to the movie that makes me curious.
He's kind of unhinged. Like I don't know what he's gonna do. But so I'm like, could he make this really good? Could he make this really fun? In a world where there's a new Sony Marvel deal, maybe they work something out to make this better and not be so weird. So
I feel like with Morbius, there's a plan B. Like you said, they filmed the movie, and I feel like if the movie's bad, they're gonna edit it. They're gonna edit it in a way where it's standalone, and they can just like leave it, decay in an early grave. So that's probably not the best angle to be coming into a movie, but
that's Sony's strategy all around. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Morbius is. I agree. Don't know.
Yeah, Venom 2 has the biggest chance. But if they're still filming it right now, will the effects and everything be ready by October? We'll need to see if this is moved or not. Eternals, the new Marvel Studios, essentially they're Guardians of the Galaxy for this year. New characters, a group of new characters. We talked about Kumail Nanjiani, Selma Hayek. What was it?
Angelina Jolie. But as you keep telling me though, you said these are the new Guardians, but you keep telling me they're Earth based, so now I keep getting confused.
Well, it's a group of people we've never met. Guardians of the Galaxy introduced to a group of people we never met, rather than just a single hero. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing, and they're going to be they live for thousands of years. They have some nondescript powers, but are good at really good one thing. So are these the gods, the pantheons are based on in the world? Are they these characters? What are they? Kit
Harington, the Black Knight,
Kit
is
Harington's
supposed
Black
to be
Knight. His Stark brother.
brand new character.
Yeah. There's a lot going on here and a lot of question marks, but everyone seems to be excited about this over there. So I'm like, I trust you. I trust them. And the other two, the first ever Marvel Studios TV shows that tie directly into the movies, featuring the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the first one. Okay. With short-haired Bucky Barnes with his arm. He's looking good. Really like it. And then WandaVision, first announced here, moved up to 2020 from 2021. So we will get to a return to Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch character and I forget the actor's name who plays Paul Bettany as the Vision. So I believe these are 8 episodes long and currently in production right now, and I'm very excited for these.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, we got a little bit of a drought now until we kind of get our next premium Disney Plus thing that's really on our radar. Mandalorian's over. I've prepaid for Disney Plus for 3 years, so I'm not too worried about paying it right now since it's already paid up front. But I don't really know what I'm going to watch next. I think I'm gonna finish streaming the Imagineering documentary, but I guess there's other stuff to explore. I've heard the High School Musical TV series is like really weird and meta, so I might check that out of sheer curiosity. But kind of all the nerd stuff, all the new nerd stuff is done with for now, right?
Right. Well, yeah, because The Witcher was all released at once. If you wanted to watch that, and I don't know anything new coming out for a little bit. So we're a lock and key. I think is February, I believe.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking about stuff outside of Disney Plus, we got Lock and Key.
But like you said, in terms of nerd stuff, literally everything's in a drought in January. Like, we're just kind of like, what are we doing?
January, weird month.
Waiting for Birds of Prey and Lock and Key.
What a way to start off 2020 with January, where we're getting 2 bizarre big budget movies. Dr. Dolittle, which has been pushed and pushed and pushed, so I think there's a reason it's in January.
I love the original Dr. Dolittle, the 1950s version, right? I love the books growing up, but this I love Robert Downey Jr., but this rubs me the wrong way, man. I just can't do it.
I totally forgot about the older Dr. Dolittle movie. I have never seen it, but there was somebody posted like just a small clip from the movie where he has like a goat or something that's dressed as a baby that he's carrying around.
It's a seal.
And then he chucks it off the cliff. So with no context, it's hilarious. I'd never seen it before. I was like, what is this?
He immediately goes to jail afterwards. So if that gives you any...
Oh, he does? Okay, wow.
Because someone saw it and they thought he was killing somebody. Oh, God. And so he was like, no, it was a seal. And they're like, well, you got no proof. And I'm like... This
seems like a very bizarre movie.
It is awesome. It is fantastic. You can catch it on Chris Flicks if you want to. So.
Oh, thanks. And then there's another delayed movie coming out this January, Underwater, which still has T.J. Miller in it, so you know it's been delayed for a while. So, but then there was something else. There's another kind of larger budget movie. I'm looking at the list here in January, and I'm not seeing it pop out, but if I remember it, I'll let you.
Bad Boys for Life is what you're thinking.
Bad Boys, that's what is it? So are we trying to reinvent January right now? Is this the first year where we try to make January happen?
No,
because up until now it's all been hit. But like, so is Bad Boys for Life bad? Is that what the studio's saying? Like,
did
this
you
movie's
see
bad,
the trailer?
I saw it. Yeah, it's not good,
no.
But.
This is not gonna be good.
But I mean, it's Will Smith. When's the last time a January Will Smith movie came out?
He had Gemini Man. How great did that do, Mike?
Well, that wasn't January. That's what
I know, but I'm just saying,
that's what I'm trying to get at. This might be one of the more expensive Januaries we've seen that we are pretty sure they're all going to fail. So maybe this is just what happens in Hollywood now, since you have to swing for the fences with these big movies. If they fail, you see them in January.
As much shit as we give Michael Bay, he did the first 2 Bad Boys, right? I mean, great. He didn't do this one.
No, he didn't.
These are some this is a director duo I've never heard of their names before. Is Martin Lawrence, is he put on a little too much weight to be in movies? This is not the Mike Lowry.
It doesn't matter. He's the funny one. He can be fat, not fat. He can be a little bit more middle aged.
This January is still the dumping month. It is the month where no one has money because they spend it all on holidays, and they're like, well, we got to put it in the theater somewhere, so let's not fight with anybody.
We got to look at it this way. As soon as Disney ends up eating up another studio, buying another studio, there's only 52 weekends in a year. Yeah. So if they make more than 50 more than 48 movies. They'll have to put something in January, right?
Yeah. Well, until then, this is not the year that I believe it will happen. So that's my prediction.
Maybe next decade.
Yeah, we'll look at that. I mean, February's been changed. I'll tell you that right now. February has definitely been redeveloped. So
absolutely, I would agree with that.
I have no more predictions. I have no more commentary. Mike, do you have anything else you'd like to add on the special episode?
No, I think the only thing that we would maybe want to just briefly touch on is this next decade. This is the year for Warner Brothers to really make a statement that they are here and they are coming for your box office dollars, Disney. And then just like all business in general, competition's good. Yeah. So I would love at some point in this next decade, a big DC movie comes out a week before or after a big Marvel movie. Just statistically, I feel like it's going to happen. And I'd like to see Warner Brothers win. I'd like to see them win a weekend. Like, I'd like to see the title of Warner Brothers finally beats Marvel at the box office. Of course, it's going to drive the haters and the fans crazy. Everyone's going to be arguing on social media, but I'd like to see that. I think that'll happen in the next 10 years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely got some stuff coming. I think the closest we got, the Batman is at the end of June and Spider-Man 3 is at the beginning of July in 2021. We definitely could see something there. But I mean, DC's got to crank out more movies is their problems. Like, until like a month ago or less than a month ago, we only had like 2 movies on their schedule through the next like 3 years. And one was Aquaman 2 and the other one was DC Super Pets. So, which I don't think was really...
It's a volume business now, baby.
Yeah, so... I honestly, I think, you know what we're going to see closer to, if it sticks to this, in 2022, an untitled Star Wars film opens a week after Aquaman 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's the big question of what's the next Star Wars.
Yeah, what is the next Star Wars thing? Will it be able to recover from this? Will they keep this date? Will it go up against Aquaman 2? I don't know. Will Marvel and DC go head-to-head? I don't know out the gate, but I mean... We've got some chances coming up here to see some big screen brawls, if you will. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's all I got. And you can find all that stuff. You go to superheroslate.com, click upcoming movies and TV shows, and we have the full list here for the next several years and all the other stuff. I think through the past through 2008 since Iron Man started, we put them all in there.
Yeah, we do our best to just make it a really nice resource. It's a very easy page to load, no ads, not a bunch of thumbnails for every movie. You know what all these movies look like anyway. You don't need to see the box art from it. Just a very nice itemized list. So if you can be like, oh, when did this movie come out? Scroll down a little bit more. So
Command F, you can find it. Or Control F.
There you go.
Do a search on the page. You'll see it right away.
Yeah, so go check out that upcoming releases page and. There you go. Another year down the drain, another decade down the drain, another decade coming up, and stay subscribed because what we usually do is we don't make predictions that far forward. We talk about the news every week, and that's our normal episode.
Yep. And where would I mean? I don't have this. I'm going to put this in our notes here for us real fast. But I mean, if people wanted to listen to our notes, where would they find all this at?
Oh, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get to that upcoming releases page so you can see everything that's coming out for the next foreseeable decade. I don't know. How far do we go out there, Chris?
2023 right now is 2026 is a Star Wars film, but mostly 2023 through untitled movies, yeah.
There you go. And Chris just updated this page, and we keep it updated. This isn't some sort of legacy graveyard page, so you can always go back and visit it. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you like to listen to your podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We obviously heard from a few of you after our Star Wars review, so please reach out. Let us know if you're digging the show and what you want us to talk about. Did we leave something totally out that we should be talking about for 2020, or what's your big prediction for the next 10 years in all of this nerd stuff that we talk about? So reach out, let us know, and if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week.
Especially this coming week with our first episode of 2020, and we've got some news to talk about, some we reference here, and more. So we'll see you guys there.
All right, adios.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
It goes by quick. It went by really quick.
Cool.
I was happy about that.
Cool.